Your mind never rests, even when your body does. This is the hidden exhaustion most people never recognize. You lie down at night, your muscles relax, your eyes close, yet inside there is movement. Thoughts continue to rise without permission. Conversations replay themselves. Mistakes are examined again and again. Imaginary futures are built, feared, and destroyed before they ever arrive. The body follows instructions to stop, but the mind ignores them. This is why sleep does not feel like rest. This is why you wake up tired, even after doing nothing physically demanding. The mind was not designed to run without direction. When left untrained, it consumes energy constantly. Every thought costs something. Every worry takes a small portion of your strength. Over time, these small losses accumulate into chronic fatigue. You feel drained without understanding the source. You try to fix it with more sleep, more coffee, more stimulation, but the exhaustion remains because the real work never stops inside you. Most people believe thinking is harmless because it is invisible. They treat the mind as if it can work endlessly without consequence. But the mind is like any muscle. If it contracts without rest, it tightens. If it is overloaded, it weakens. If it is never guided, it becomes chaotic. Mental chaos slowly turns into emotional instability. Emotional instability turns into physical symptoms: headaches, tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restlessness, irritability. The body begins to carry what the mind refuses to release. This constant inner movement creates a state of tension, even in moments that should be peaceful. Sitting becomes uncomfortable. Silence feels heavy. Stillness feels unsafe. Many people avoid being alone not because they dislike solitude, but because solitude exposes the noise inside them. They reach for their phones, conversations, entertainment, anything that keeps the mind occupied, not realizing that constant occupation is the reason they feel exhausted in the first place. When the mind never rests, your reactions become automatic. You respond before you choose. You speak before you reflect. You act from habit instead of awareness. This creates regret, which feeds more thinking, which creates more tension. A cycle forms. The longer it continues, the more normal it feels. You begin to believe this state of restlessness is who you are, not realizing it is simply a condition you have trained yourself into. The most dangerous part is that this mental exhaustion dulls your perception. You stop noticing how far you have drifted from calm. Stress becomes your baseline. Anxiety becomes familiar. Peace feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. You confuse stimulation with energy and noise with aliveness. But stimulation borrows energy from tomorrow, and noise prevents recovery. True rest does not come from distraction. It comes from mental stillness. When the mind rests, the body heals faster. Breathing deepens naturally. Muscles release without force. The nervous system shifts from survival to repair. But a restless mind keeps the body in a constant state of alert, as if danger is always near. This invisible alarm drains vitality day by day. Over time, motivation fades, discipline weakens, and clarity disappears. Not because you are incapable, but because your inner system has been running without pause for too long. Learning to let the mind rest is not about forcing silence. It is about learning not to follow every thought that appears. Thoughts will arise, but you do not have to chase them. When you stop feeding them attention, they lose momentum. Space begins to appear between you and your thoughts. In that space, energy returns. Awareness sharpens. Calm becomes possible again. Uncontrolled emotions slowly weaken the body in ways that are subtle, gradual, and often misunderstood. Most people think emotions exist only in the mind, but emotions are physical events. They trigger chemical reactions, muscle responses, changes in breathing, and shifts in posture. When emotions arise and are not regulated, the body remains in a prolonged state of reaction. What should be a temporary response becomes a constant condition. Anger tightens the jaw, shoulders, and fists. Fear shortens the breath and hardens the chest. Anxiety pulls the nervous system into constant alert. Sadness lowers energy and collapses posture. These responses were designed for short moments of survival, not for daily living. When emotions are left unchecked, the body stays in survival mode long after the threat is gone. Over time, this state consumes strength. Many people suppress emotions because they were never taught how to handle them. They believe controlling emotions means ignoring them. But suppression does not remove emotional energy. It traps it inside the body. The mind pretends nothing is wrong while the body carries the burden. Muscles remain tight. Breathing stays shallow. Digestion weakens. Sleep becomes restless. These are not random problems. They are signals of stored emotional tension. Unregulated emotions create internal conflict. One part of you reacts impulsively, while another part judges and resists the reaction. This inner struggle produces stress even in calm environments. You may sit still, but inside there is friction. The nervous system cannot distinguish between real danger and emotional turbulence. It responds to both in the same way, by releasing stress hormones. When these hormones circulate daily, they wear down the immune system and drain energy reserves. The body is constantly listening to emotional signals. When fear dominates, the body prepares to flee. When anger dominates, it prepares to fight. When sadness dominates, it conserves energy and withdraws. Living in any one of these states for too long creates imbalance. Strength decreases, recovery slows, and resilience fades. The body becomes vulnerable not because it is weak, but because it is overloaded. Emotional reactions also affect posture and movement. Chronic anger stiffens the spine. Prolonged anxiety pulls the head forward and tightens the chest. Long-term stress restricts hip mobility and shortens the breath. These physical patterns develop gradually and feel normal to the person experiencing them. Pain becomes familiar. Fatigue becomes routine. The connection to emotions is rarely made, so the root remains untreated. When emotions are uncontrolled, habits form around avoidance. People seek comfort through food, screens, substances, or constant activity. These behaviors provide temporary relief but add new strain to the body. Digestion suffers. Sleep cycles break. Hormonal balance shifts. The body is asked to compensate for emotional instability without being given the tools to recover. True emotional regulation is not suppression. It is awareness. When you recognize an emotion as it arises, the body does not have to carry it alone. Observing anger prevents it from becoming aggression. Observing fear prevents it from becoming paralysis. Observing sadness prevents it from becoming despair. Awareness creates space, and space allows the body to return to balance. As emotional awareness grows, physical tension begins to release without force. Breathing deepens naturally. The nervous system shifts from reaction to regulation. Strength returns not through effort, but through alignment. The body no longer wastes energy holding unresolved emotional patterns. It uses that energy to heal, to repair, to sustain clarity and presence throughout daily life. Suppressed feelings store themselves as tension because energy that is not expressed does not disappear. It changes form. Every emotion carries a physical charge. When you feel something and deny it, the mind may move on, but the body does not forget. It holds the unexpressed response in muscles, joints, breathing patterns, and posture. Over time, this silent holding becomes your default state. From a young age, many people learn that certain emotions are unacceptable. Anger is labeled as weakness or danger. Sadness is seen as something to hide. Fear is judged as failure. Instead of learning how to experience emotions fully and let them pass, people learn to compress them. The body tightens to contain what the mind refuses to acknowledge. This tightening feels small at first, almost unnoticeable, but it accumulates. The jaw clenches when words are swallowed. The throat tightens when emotions are not spoken. The chest hardens when grief is avoided. The stomach contracts when fear is ignored. These patterns repeat until they no longer feel temporary. They become structural. Muscles adapt to tension. Breathing adapts to restriction. Movement adapts to protection. The body reshapes itself around unexpressed emotional weight. This stored tension disrupts natural flow. Blood circulation becomes less efficient. Oxygen intake decreases. The nervous system remains slightly activated even during rest. The body is never fully at ease because part of it is always guarding something unresolved. This constant guarding drains energy quietly. You may not feel stressed, yet you feel heavy. You may not feel emotional, yet you feel exhausted. Suppressed emotions also reduce sensitivity. When the body holds tension for too long, it numbs itself to survive. You lose awareness of subtle sensations. Pain appears suddenly instead of gradually. Fatigue arrives without warning. Emotional numbness develops alongside physical stiffness. Life begins to feel dull, not because nothing is happening, but because your system is overloaded and protecting itself. Many people attempt to release tension through physical activity alone. Exercise helps, but it cannot fully resolve what was never consciously felt. Stretching a muscle that is holding emotional memory offers temporary relief, but the tension returns because the message was never acknowledged. The body responds when the mind listens. Without awareness, release remains incomplete. Suppressed feelings also affect breathing. The breath shortens when emotions are held back. Incomplete breathing reduces oxygen supply and increases stress responses. Shallow breath reinforces anxiety, fatigue, and mental fog. The body learns to operate in a reduced state, conserving energy instead of circulating it freely. This becomes normal, even though it is far from optimal. Releasing suppressed feelings does not require dramatic expression. It requires honesty. Feeling an emotion fully without resistance allows it to move through the system. When an emotion is allowed, the body no longer needs to hold it. Muscles soften. The chest opens. The breath deepens. Energy that was trapped becomes available again. Awareness is the key that unlocks stored tension. When you notice where the body is tight and ask what emotion lives there, connection is restored. This connection allows release to happen naturally. The body is intelligent. It knows how to return to balance when it is no longer forced to carry what the mind avoids. As tension dissolves, movement becomes fluid, breath becomes steady, and presence becomes grounded within the body. Lack of inner discipline destroys self-respect in a way that is gradual and often invisible. It does not collapse your life all at once. It erodes it quietly through small decisions made daily. Each time you know what is right for you and choose against it, something inside weakens. Not motivation, not ability, but trust in yourself. And once that trust is damaged, everything becomes harder. Inner discipline is not about harsh control. It is about alignment between intention and action. When you decide to wake up early, and you do, confidence grows. When you decide to stop a harmful habit and you follow through, self-respect strengthens. But when decisions are repeatedly broken, the mind begins to doubt its own authority. You stop believing your own promises. Words lose weight. Intentions feel empty. This inner fracture creates a constant background tension. You carry the awareness that you are capable of more, yet you repeatedly settle for less. This gap between who you are and how you live becomes a source of quiet shame. Not the kind that is loud or dramatic, but the kind that whispers constantly. It affects posture, eye contact, tone of voice. You may not name it, but you feel it. Without discipline, impulses take control. Comfort becomes the default choice. Short-term relief overrides long-term growth. You eat what you know harms you. You avoid what you know would strengthen you. Each time this happens, the inner voice that once guided you becomes quieter. Eventually, you stop listening altogether. Life begins to feel reactive instead of intentional. This lack of self-command also weakens boundaries. When you cannot say no to yourself, you struggle to say no to others. You tolerate situations that drain you. You accept behaviors that disrespect you, not because you want to, but because your inner structure is weak. Discipline creates structure. Without structure, everything feels unstable. The mind notices these patterns. It keeps score. Even if you try to ignore it, the subconscious records every broken commitment. Over time, this creates a belief that you are unreliable. That belief shapes behavior. You aim lower. You hesitate more. You avoid responsibility because responsibility reminds you of past failures to follow through. Energy also declines. Indecision is exhausting. Constant negotiation with yourself drains mental resources. Should I do this or not? I'll start tomorrow. Just this once. These internal debates consume more energy than disciplined action ever would. A disciplined mind decides once and moves forward. An undisciplined mind argues endlessly and stays stuck. Discipline brings simplicity. When rules are clear, life becomes lighter. When values are firm, decisions are faster. When standards are set, self-respect grows naturally. You no longer need external validation because your inner approval is consistent. You trust yourself because you have evidence that you act in alignment with your values. Self-respect is not built through achievement alone. It is built through integrity in small moments. Choosing to act when no one is watching. Choosing effort over comfort. Choosing consistency over excitement. These choices shape identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. Someone who can be relied upon. Without inner discipline, potential remains unused. Talent fades. Dreams feel distant, not because they are impossible, but because the foundation required to support them is missing. Discipline is that foundation. It holds your intentions steady when emotions fluctuate. It keeps you moving when motivation disappears. It protects your self-respect by ensuring that your actions reflect who you believe yourself to be. Stillness is the foundation of true healing, because the body and mind recover only when movement stops at the deepest level. Not physical movement, but inner movement. Most people believe rest means inactivity, yet their inner world remains restless. The body lies down, but the nervous system stays alert. Thoughts continue to circulate, emotions remain unresolved, and the system never fully powers down. Without stillness, recovery is incomplete. The nervous system has two primary states. One is survival, designed for action, protection, and response. The other is restoration, designed for repair, digestion, and healing. When the mind is constantly active, the body remains closer to survival mode. Even in safe environments, muscles stay slightly contracted, breathing stays shallow, hormones associated with stress continue to circulate. The body cannot heal efficiently in this state. Stillness allows the nervous system to shift. When inner movement slows, signals change. The heart rate steadies. Breathing deepens without effort. Blood flow redirects from muscles to organs responsible for repair. The immune system strengthens. Cells regenerate more effectively. These processes do not respond to force or urgency. They require calm. Many people fear stillness because it exposes what has been avoided. When external noise fades, internal noise becomes louder. Unprocessed thoughts, emotions, and sensations rise to the surface. This discomfort causes people to escape back into stimulation. They mistake discomfort for danger. In reality, this discomfort is a sign that healing is beginning. The system is releasing what it has been holding. True stillness is not emptiness. It is presence without interference. Sitting quietly, observing the breath, feeling the body without trying to change it. This simple act sends a powerful message to the nervous system that it is safe. Safety is the prerequisite for healing. Without it, the body remains defensive. Stillness also restores awareness. When movement stops, perception sharpens. You begin to notice tension you were carrying unconsciously. You notice shallow breathing, clenched muscles, subtle restlessness. Awareness brings choice. Choice allows release. The body does not need instructions to heal. It needs permission. Modern life trains constant stimulation. Notifications, noise, information, and urgency fill every moment. This conditions the nervous system to expect activity at all times. Stillness feels unfamiliar because it has become rare, but unfamiliar does not mean harmful. It means unused. Like a muscle that has not been trained, stillness feels uncomfortable at first. With practice, it becomes natural. In stillness, mental patterns lose strength. Thoughts slow when they are not fed attention. Emotions soften when they are not resisted. The mind learns that it does not need to solve everything immediately. This reduces internal pressure. Reduced pressure allows the body to relax more deeply. Healing does not happen through effort. Effort belongs to action. Healing belongs to allowance. Stillness creates space. In that space, the body reorganizes itself. Systems rebalance. Energy that was spent on tension becomes available for repair. This process is quiet and gradual, but profound. When stillness becomes part of daily life, resilience increases. Stresses no longer overwhelm as easily because the system knows how to return to balance. Recovery becomes faster. Clarity improves. The body responds with the strength not because it was pushed, but because it was given the conditions it needs to heal. Inner calm is the highest form of strength because it allows you to remain steady when everything around you is unstable. Most people associate strength with force, dominance, or emotional intensity. They believe power is loud, reactive, and visible. But this kind of strength depends on circumstances. It collapses when challenged. Inner calm does not rely on external conditions. It remains present whether situations are favorable or difficult. A calm inner state means the nervous system is regulated. When the nervous system is balanced, perception becomes clear. You see situations as they are, not as your fears or desires distort them. Decisions are made with precision instead of impulse. This clarity is a form of power because it prevents unnecessary conflict and wasted energy. When someone lacks inner calm, they are easily provoked. A word, a look, or a small obstacle is enough to trigger anger or anxiety. Reaction replaces response. Energy is spent defending the ego instead of solving the problem. This reactivity is not strength. It is vulnerability disguised as intensity. Inner calm allows space between stimulus and action. In that space, choice exists. You are no longer controlled by emotional reflexes. You can listen without absorbing chaos. You can act without being driven by urgency. This control over response gives you command over situations that would overwhelm others. Calm also protects energy. Emotional turbulence consumes strength. Worry drains the body. Anger tightens muscles and exhausts the nervous system. Fear restricts breathing and weakens focus. When calm is present, energy circulates efficiently. The body moves with ease. The mind remains focused without strain. True calm is not suppression. It is not pretending that nothing affects you. It is the ability to experience emotions without being controlled by them. Anger can arise without becoming aggression. Fear can appear without becoming paralysis. Sadness can pass without becoming despair. This emotional flexibility is a sign of inner strength. People who are calm under pressure often appear unbothered, but their stillness is active. They are observing, assessing, and choosing. Their silence is not emptiness, it is readiness. Because they are not overwhelmed internally, they can respond effectively externally. Inner calm also influences how others respond to you. Calm presence stabilizes environments. It lowers tension without effort. People sense when someone is grounded. Conflict de-escalates in the presence of steadiness. Leadership emerges naturally, not through control, but through example. Developing inner calm requires training. It does not come from avoiding challenges, but from meeting them without losing center. Breathing, awareness, stillness, and self-observation build this capacity. Each time you remain present instead of reactive, calm strengthens. Calm does not mean slow. It means precise. Actions taken from calm are efficient and effective. There is no wasted motion, no unnecessary struggle. Energy is directed where it matters. In a world that thrives on urgency and noise, inner calm becomes rare. Rarity creates value. Those who cultivate it carry a strength that does not fade with age, circumstance, or opposition. It becomes a stable foundation from which all other forms of power can emerge. Your health is not failing you by accident. It is responding to how you live inside yourself. A restless mind, unmanaged emotions, suppressed feelings, weak discipline, absence of stillness, and lack of inner calm slowly shape the condition of your body and the direction of your life. What you ignore internally does not disappear. It accumulates and eventually demands attention through exhaustion, imbalance, and loss of clarity. When you begin to care for your inner state with the same seriousness you give to the outer world, everything changes. Strength returns, awareness sharpens, and life feels lighter, not because problems vanish, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. True health begins the moment you take responsibility for your inner world and learn to live from calm, discipline, and presence rather than chaos and reaction.